Okay. We're online, and it is recording now. No one else has joined us on Zoom as yet. How are you, Mr. Pollack? Hi, how are you? That's fine. If you want, you can set it up front there, and then you can use that microphone.
I just got a quick question for her that's not on your hearing tonight. I like that. Do you recall for a hearing that Joe Brady was doing? Are these have registered to the property owners?
No,
And
it's
it's
not
not
reserved for anyone.
when there's a name, and
Microphones are there.
more than one.
Off. If that button is up, then it should be down. Off.
Yeah, can I do that now? No, yours doesn't have it.
And we are recording.
You're better than there is this one. It's going to cover my, I didn't get it. I wonder if you don't have to pull up on the. Yeah. No, was everyone process? Yeah, I wouldn't have done it. I did not ask for that. I'm sorry.
Bring all our, regular Harlem Township zoning meeting out of recess and call it to order. I'll begin by calling the roll. Tom Ede. Here. Mike Kavler, that's me. Kelly Nansen. Here. Virginia Lewis, Virginia is absent, and Brittany Hopper. Brittany is also absent. And we are in session. This will be a very short meeting. We don't have, really, an agenda, per se, but, I will ask if there's any members of the public who have not yet signed in over there, request that you do so. And then the second thing being, is there anyone who has a more general question, not relating to the two hearings that we're having tonight? Just a general question that you came in with, see if you can get some information back. No, okay, then, continuing forward. Tom Ede, member of the zoning commission on my left. I'm Mike Kavler, the chairperson, and Mr. Tony Nansen, and Tony is the vice chairperson of the zoning commission. The two members are active. If they come in, I will introduce them. The person who just walked in is our zoning director and inspector, Mike Cannon. Mike, thank you for coming.
Yeah, 627, right?
Yeah, you're just fine.
Okay.
The hearings haven't started. We just needed to get the regular meeting out of recess, and we'll be going back into recess soon. We can open up the public hearing. Excuse me. Is there anything that commission members would like to report on in this couple of minutes that we still have before we reach the 6:30 starting time for the public hearing? Nothing new, huh? Okay, well, it's a good thing we only started this meeting for 5 minutes. Although, we could have put things on the agenda. Reason that we are meeting tonight, and it's a recess, I'll make this as a general announcement for everyone, if there's anyone. Since I can't see that in here, just check, and see if anyone, we may have to do that, since we have this problem. We're having technology problems, if you haven't surmised what's going on here. For one thing, we used to have screens that would come down and so that information would be projected on the screens, but that is temporarily broken. We need a new touchpad. I understand. Yes.
I just would like to let you know that I just admitted Matthew Bryant
Okay.
on Zoom, and we need to tell him that
Yeah.
we can't hear him.
And, for the record, and I need to make Matthew Bryant has joined us on Zoom.
And Matthew, if you want to say something during the meeting, please, use the chat box because the, audio is not working. Thank you.
As I was saying, the additional issues that we, are also having is that, we're, unable to communicate as you can tell. They can hear us if they're on Zoom. They can see us if they're on Zoom, but, we cannot hear them any longer. That's, or see them. That is now a problem that has been identified in terms of what the problem was and issue plan and repairs are supposedly coming soon. I hope it happens, before we have our next meeting here, which would be in August. Trustees, of course, have the same problem because they're using the same equipment. It's now 6:30, so I want to, take our regular meeting into recess. It will be recessed and we will reconvene, the regular meeting following the hearing. And with that, I'll open the first hearing, which is the hearing on application HTCC 2304. And I'll call the roll. Tom Need? Here. Joey Hanson? Here. Mike Kavler? Here. Virginia Lewis?
Here.
Oh. Down and he's gonna come in.
Just like,
Virginia Lewis, just arrived, and Virginia is now present for the first hearing. And Brittany is absent, and she had told me she was, not be able to attend this evening. At all. Okay, now that we are open to the hearing, now call the roll. I've already introduced, but let me do so again in case there are new members or new people who have arrived. Mike Cannon is the zoning director and inspector. He is seated in the back. We also have Steve Eisenbrown, who has come in. Steve is a member of the Township Strategic Zoning. I'm sorry, Strategic Planning Committee. And you are on BCA, that's right, you're both. You're on the Strategic Planning Committee both. Yeah. And someone convinced you to join the BCA. Someone did. All right. I'm glad they did. Okay, going further, the way that the meeting we will conduct here, when we get into the hearing, the information will be presented. I'll go through the process of reviewing, specifically the rules. What we would ask is that only one person speak at a time, but the commission members will speak first. During this time, please observe that point. At that point, there will be no public participation. Following that, There will then be, an opportunity for public participation. I will open it up and, allow people to speak. And at that time, we will request that only one person speak at a time, that you would please, go to the podium so that you can speak there with the microphone so it can be recorded. Otherwise, you won't get your information on tape. At that time, please state your name and address so that it can be recorded. And one of us up here, who will volunteer to record the names and addresses of the people that come to the podium?
Have all of you signed in first?
They signed
Okay,
in.
then I can do that.
Thank you.
Really, I only have to catch a bit of it, then I can check the list.
Very good, thank you. And when you do get then up to the podium to speak, please be brief and be factual. If someone else has already spoken, please do not bring up the same point or question that has been previously addressed or asked. Remember, only one person is heard at a time, so do not interrupt the speaker. Please do not carry on your own conversations with individual speakers. If there happens to be a group that wishes to be heard, please identify a spokesperson for you so that the same information is not shared all the time. When there are no further questions and or comments from the public, that public portion of the hearing will be closed. And from that point on, no further public comments and or questions will be entertained unless I give an indication that we will allow an additional public question to be asked. So with that as an introduction, let's begin. First thing, if you haven't noticed, we do not have a secretary. The person who was our Zoom secretary and administrative assistant resigned suddenly 2 weeks ago. And as a result, at the present time, we don't have anyone to replace that position. However, interviews are, I don't know whether they have occurred yet or not, but the position will be filled. And that was my understanding when I talked with our township administrative assistant last Friday, that there were 7 people who had submitted applications for the position. We're going to move forward with digital meetings. All right, now, since we don't have a secretary, I'll have to use information that we would normally ask that person. First thing, is the application on the correct form? I believe it is. Yes?
Do we have a copy of the publication notice?
Yes, but I haven't read it yet. I have it. I will read it. Right here. Okay, I see what you're saying. I crossed it out. Okay, let me read the public notice first. Find it? Here it is. Public notice. The Harlem Township Zoning Commission is being asked to consider the following. Jamie and Jenna Perkins, 10518 Allen Road, in Ohio, 43021, are seeking to rezone 5.004 acres from current zoning AR1 agricultural residential to proposed zoning FR1 single family. There is no physical address for the property. It is parcel ID number 316-320-02-009-000. The hearing will be held on originally scheduled for Monday, July the 3rd. It was recessed to tonight, July 17th at 6:30 p.m. at the Harlem Township Firehouse, 3883 South State Street, 605, Toledo, Ohio. To view the application and accompanying documents, please call 740-965-2661, extension 2, Monday through Friday, 8:12 p.m. To schedule an appointment or view on our website at www.harlemtownship.com. The hearing is open to the public. The hearing is also available on Zoom. To join our hearing on Zoom, use the following link. And the link that is listed. That was public notice. It was forwarded to the Gulf Gazette on June 8th. and it was, published in the, in the Delaware Gazette following its submission. It was published on June the 14th, 2023. Thank you, Jody. Now we'll be back down to, the other questions to be addressed. Application on the correct forum. Anyone think it's not? We would normally ask, maybe I just ask you, Mike.
Yeah, I want to say one thing real quick. I think when you read that first slide, you read 316,320, it's 316,302. That would be 009.
We have two. Oh, the public notice has been incorrect.
The public notice is in there. Okay,
I thought you read.
He did.
Yeah, but the public notice has 302. So whenever it got sent over to be posted on the public
I'll
notice,
find that public notice. Yeah. The public notice does read, 320.
Okay, then we do this one here, so.
where'd that one come from? The website?
Well, the one I'm looking at is been corrected.
The one on the website, what?
One on the website, maybe. Okay. It's not a fatal flaw. But it's good to note that there was a mistake. Okay, thank you so much for pointing that out. Let me ask you a couple of questions then, since you're up there.
I'm here.
Has the applicant or agent signed the application?
Yes.
What is the specific zoning request? I can read it if you don't have it.
I do not. Well. Would that not be the same thing as, on the public notice?
There it is, specific zoning request.
Seeking the rezone.
They're requesting to rezone, from AR1. Total acreage of 5.004 to FR1.
Yeah.
Proposed residential again, total acreage to be rezoned, all of it 5.004. And now coming to the zoning commission members, everyone. What's the correct legal description, furnished in text and map, and do they reinforce each other?
I thought they did.
Yeah, I didn't see anything when I read the old copy, okay? Then the next question is, have the adjacent, adjoining, contiguous and or across from property owners been notified by regular mail? And
Yes.
according to the information that's provided me, the letters were mailed on July the 5th, and no letters were returned.
That's correct.
That's correct, thank you. Now, are there any non-notified property owners present? If so, please raise your hand, meaning that you would be adjacent to this property or across from it. All right, we do have people who did not receive a letter, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
We are adjacent.
And, could you, give us your name again, please?
James and Stephanie Lewis, WILIS. 10450 Avenue Road.
And what was the last name, please?
Willis, WILLIS.
Okay.
And your address again?
And what's the, street number on that?
10450 Adams Road.
And that's a blue address?
Correct. It's the adjacent property.
Thank you. Now, Later on, you'll have an opportunity to ask more questions or make any comments. And there were no signed or notarized waivers. They were mailed, yeah, so that they both. Okay, now, what is the question of the Delaware Regional Planning Commission? Well, I have that. You find out, and I'll read that for you. I'm glad we have it.
You have it?
I have,
Other mine has it.
Here we go. The Regional Planning Commission has staff recommendation. And I'm going to read that. Staff recommends conditional approval of the rezoning request by Jamie and Hannah Perkins from AR1 to FR1. Two, the recommended to Delaware Regional Planning Commission. The applicant should, and it's subject to the applicant providing to ensure that a primary and secondary on-site treatment system can be placed on each site. That's the staff recommendation. Commission, public comments, they had public comments. Recommendation and the motion made by Mr. Schaefer with the. Wait a minute, that's not the one, sorry. The recommendation made is for conditional, is for approval. Additional approval rezoning request by Jamie and Jenna Perkins, subject to staff recommendations, which I have already read. The motion was made by Mr. Matlock, seconded by Mr. Ruby, and it was approved unanimously. So the only condition was that you have it evaluated, which of course is a requirement in terms of for health requirements. That would come later. I mean, you've already done it. We'll have to do it. All right, those are that basic review of information for the zoning commission. Now, if the applicant or your spokesperson want to present any kind of an overview, additional comments.
If it's up,
Is
then
the
it's
button up?
there you go.
Okay, so Courtney, Wade with Ada Zoning, and I'm here with, Jamie Perkins here. And we're just doing, a simple rezone of the 5.004 acres, at the set of address. And to, I first wanted to address the issue, about the letters. I followed your instructions as far as your taxes, the tax address on here. And this time I went ahead and included this auditor saying, if you do look at,
Courtney, let me just point out that the letters that we're referring
Okay.
to were sent to two addresses.
okay,
If there was a lender address, it went there, and then if whatever the property address was, it went there to that property owner's
Okay.
name.
So
So if
we're-
they didn't live there, they were renting the property, it still went to that address.
okay, so it's going to both that and the mortgage.
It did this time.
Thank you, okay. Just wanted to clarify that. Okay, sure, I just covering us there. As far as regional planning, yes, I did attend that meeting. Everyone was in support of that. I thought it was strange that they asked as far as the, on-site septic for the soils. And of course, as we discussed, that will be, part of our, construction phase as we're working with contractors down the line for the lot split. So, I don't really have anything else to address, other than I did want to note that, the two properties, to both the west and to the east, are smaller than the 5.004. It appears that at some point, those two on each side have been rezoned and resplit in the past. Now, I have not done that history, but I just wanted to say that this rezoning for this particular project is, respectable to those size properties that are on either side of this property. I know that we just have the adjacent properties, but you can see that on the map that I provided, so. And I don't have anything else to add. Do you have anything to add? No. We're just here to answer any questions.
Very good. Well, at this point then, we'll open it up to the commission members to see if they have any, questions for the applicant.
So I was just wondering, with regional planning, did you tell them that your intention was to split? Because as far as we're concerned, we can assume that that's what's happening in an AR1 to FR1, but we're not, like, that's not up to us whether or not that's what they're doing. So did they ask about that? Is that how they got to the on-site septic question?
No, I think that was an assumption, and I think
Okay.
that we all know that, his zoning has learned not to provide that information,
Okay.
even to regional planning, so no. So I think that was just an assumption that they made, based on the rezoning request.
Anytime a new house is going to be built, it's commercial, it has to be that kind of evaluation. And that has to be done, and then once they move forward, our role, and as we didn't point out, we don't deal with septic. We make decisions, that's a decision that comes from the health department.
I found it interesting that that was a comment that, since we're talking about the reviewing, not only does zoning, we meet those requirements in the health department, but we will be working with, soil and water and sanitary, and also the engineer's office. Before we even start one of these projects, I have already, spoke with them about that project to see if there's any challenges or concerns that they may have, because we certainly don't want to waste your time and look for things coming there. Finance, it's a financial, decision, and doing that due diligence, there wasn't any concerns with any of the other
No
departments, correct?
Maybe the commission will be any questions.
I did want to thank Courtney for providing the extra information she did on the surveying. And determining the net increase and everything like that.
I'm sorry, what was
I
that?
wanted to thank you for including the information on the surveying, the survey, and the net increase.
Mhm.
And also for the additional property addresses. Technically, we are only required, I believe, to notify who is listed on the auditor's tax website. And a lot of times, that information does be a mortgage company. Which we have discovered that means that the actual people living around there don't receive notice. Because your mortgage company did send them. But we have tried to determine who those people are and send those people information as well. But legally, the state requires that we send it to whoever is listed on taxpayers.
As the taxpayer.
Was the sign placed on the property? I know our signs have gone missing in the past. I don't really even have signs anymore.
No. So that's what we, because we felt off like. The license.
We have recognized that this is a problem with mortgage companies. And we don't know why they won't forward the information to the people who live there. we have tried to increase the number of people we notify. But it obviously doesn't always work.
We can address that at least before, adopt it as a standard practice that it will go to both. Both addresses, whether it's with the taxpayer address, you can only that you would then send to the list of property owners, at the property address as well.
Your mortgage company is listed as, Durban, Texas. So that is clearly, not going to result in you reading it unless they forward things to you, and I don't know that a lot of mortgage companies, they're probably receiving hundreds of these a day.
And they probably
They just go right in the.
Anything else from the commission? All right, if not, at this point then we'll open it up for public comment. So, do any members of the public have questions or comments that you wish to make? Yes, sir. Would you step up to the microphone again, please?
My name is James Willis. I apologize because I was one that did not get any of the information, so I had no idea this was happening. So I do have some statements that I would like to make. I would be happy to give this to you upon reflection. I am the owner with my wife of the property that is adjacent. So my name is James Willis. I've lived with my wife and daughter at 10450 Adams Road for over a decade. My property is one that would be impacted most as it butts up against the property the Perkins are looking to have rezoned, the whole length of it. I'm here tonight to kindly ask the board to reject that rezoning application. Now, I understand on the surface, this seems to be a benign request, but it's actually the first step in forever changing the landscape of Adams Road. That's because it is no secret that the Perkins plan is to rezone it, divide it in two, sell half of the property to a developer to put a house on it, and then they move. So they're doing it to better themselves and without regard to the established properties and homes on Adams Road, including mine. A large portion of the Perkins property, specifically the portion that they would be looking to put a house on, floods on a regular basis after a heavy rain. It has for years. The flooding goes across the entire back of the Perkins property and down along the full length of their property into the buffer of trees that we have that divides our property, all the way down to the road. The Perkins Pond also overflows. And every few springs, we have what I can only describe as a flash flood during heavy rain, where the pond overflows, cuts diagonally down across the property, up and over my driveway, flooding my property. I have photos, I have videos, which I'd be happy to share with you, that you can see our neighbor's dog swimming in the water at the front of my property, 1.5 feet deep. You can see in the pictures, it coming from their pond diagonally across their property and then meeting up with the other gully of water that's going and then rushing all over it. As a result, the natural buffer of the trees at the back of their property, as well as those that are in between, they're all developing root rot and they're rotting, they're falling down. In fact, almost the entire buffer at the back of the Perkins property, those trees are gone now. They were either cut down or they rotted and they fell. All of this flooding can be verified because the township comes out at least once a year, maybe more, and tries to dig out the culvert. They even put a wider pipe under my driveway to try to fix it and handle the water. It doesn't work. The problem is not the culvert. The problem is the water coming across their property and down the side. And that's what's happening now. There's no telling what's going to happen when they start to dig on that property and try to put in things like a septic tank, a basement. There's no telling what's going to happen. Now, I understand that in matters such as this, it comes down to what can be done legally as opposed to simply doing the right thing. I understand that. But it hits weird that a township community is being asked to approve a rezoning that in the end only benefits the people who are trying to leave the township. I chose where I live for it to be my family's forever home on Adams Road, because that's where my wife and I wanted to grow old together and then let our daughter decide if our final move was going to be, a nursing home or a cemetery. And when we bought the house, we knew what the property and all of them surrounding what they were zoned for. And the Perkins family also should have known what their property was zoned for. So why rezone it now? Because they're not staying, they're moving. Moves happen every day for all sorts of reasons. But moving is not rezoning. Rezoning changes the purpose of the land and what can be done on it. When people move, it doesn't result in properties being torn off and trees being. A move shouldn't force me to start preemptive conversations with arborists over how I'm going to try to grow something in rain-soaked soil. And why am I doing all of this? Because I want to stay in a house, on a street, and in a community that promised me it's where natural beauty still abounds. I apologize for being bitter, but I'm bitter because I'm being forced to have tear-filled conversations with both my wife and my daughter, asking them, do you want to move? I don't want to move, and they don't want to move. But if the three of us, we actually had to make a pact that says, if this happens and it gets to be too much, we will move and leave our forever home behind. Because if this gets approved, what's to say the others on Adams Road aren't going to give up, chop up their properties and move away too? Is that going to happen? I don't know. Right now, nobody knows. But I do know one way how to keep it from happening: by rejecting this rezoning application, which is what I'm respectfully asking the board to do tonight. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. You say you have that in writing?
I do.
I appreciate having a copy. If you have multiple copies, then.
I don't, but I do that.
No, that's.
Thank you very much.
Just one. Other questions or comments from the public?
I'll say something, so that you read.
Yes.
So I knew the Sawyers,
Can we start with your name?
Yes, Jason Fetter. 10767 Adams Road,
Your last name again?
Fetter, Fetter. Yeah, 10767. It's not adjacent, I'm down the road. Great.
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, okay. No, so all I wanted to say was a little bit to talk about the flooding in the neighborhoods. I have flooding in my house. It's different than what they have. But I can tell you, when the Sawyers lived there before the Perkins purchased the property, that flooding of that pond was so bad, we would have to go help him catch the fish that were in the drainage and put them back in the pond. And the swath, it's probably hard to see on the Google map image of it, but there's a swath that cuts from the pond at a diagonal that goes across the entire property and then dumps in about where the property line is. So when you look at the building of a location, it would be very difficult to put a house in a spot that's not going to affect the water flow more than it already is. The water's going to have to go somewhere. So if you put a house there, they're going to obviously bring dirt in to elevate the house, where they're going to use the dirt from the basement. The water's got to go somewhere. It's not going anywhere appropriate now. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say, just to reiterate what he said about about that pond, because that pond overflows like crazy. And it backs up that whole area. I don't know if you probably have pictures of it. That whole area, that whole side of the street floods all the way to the property in front of my house. So I don't know, another house going in there just isn't gonna be good for flooding on the street as a whole. So you guys probably know the history of Adams Road anyway, it used to be a big swamp 30 years ago. So that's all I got.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. And with that, I'll close the public comment portion of the hearing and come back to, the zoning commission.
Question, about the letter of the town, is ours.
Sorry, the public portion is closed, but, I'll try to entertain the question. When is it?
Yeah, well, it says this is hearing was supposed to begin at 7:45 p.m.
No, that was on July the 3rd. This hearing began,
July 17th on the letter, it says hand delivered in the house. Which hearing? Is it for the person or the person? Jenna, Jamie and Jennifer.
we scheduled, the letter said, let me see the letter. July 3rd, will be on Monday, July 3rd. It does say 7:45. So that the letter that
The wrong person would be apparently.
the correct time is on the website. The letter does say 7:45. So, the secretary, made a mistake again in terms of the content of our letter. Mike, could you take a copy of the letter and make a copy of it for us, please? So we have it. And all right. Any questions or comments from the commission members?
I think all we can do is apologize for a long time on that, but as you may know, we have had some difficulty getting a zoning secretary. I think these things are gonna happen without a bona fide secretary.
Hence the reason the notices didn't go out in the first place. There's been some administrative.
The original notices were supposed to have gone out for the hearing as it was scheduled on July 3rd, and they did not get sent. That is the letter. The public notice in the Delaware Gazette was done back appropriately.
Was it 7:45 or 6:30? The website says
No, no, no.
6:30.
I'm talking about the
original.
original,
Oh,
not
okay,
the
yeah.
recess. So the original letter, I don't know whether you received, well, you didn't receive an original letter because it wasn't sent. This letter was a follow-up letter, which identified that it was going to be tonight. And you're correct, it should have, the letter is got an error in it, and then it says it's at 7:45, when in fact the hearing was scheduled for 6:30.
The website does say 6:30. It does say parcel ID 302, not 320. So there.
All right. At this point, I do not believe that either of those things becomes a critical flaw in the sense of meaning that we have to start over. So we can continue to move the process forward. It will go to the trustees. Whatever decision is made here tonight, we're simply making a recommendation to the trustees for them to take action. Either to approve or deny the application. And, at that, between now and then, I will verify with legal counsel that there are no, legal issues, because I'm not an attorney. I just know from previous contacts, they've indicated that errors regarding the letters themselves are never considered to be a fatal flaw. But we did have, another issue in that they weren't gonna allow the initially. We'll see what they can do. But we have verified we get with them for tonight's, research, that we can do the process. So with that, I'm coming back to the commission again, and at this point, does the commission have any further questions? If there is no further discussion, what is the commission's pleasure to continue on?
Zoning is not anybody's specialty, so just to explain the process. Commission is made up of your neighbors, you all live in the township, you all own the township. And our responsibility is to read and understand the zoning resolution, and to interpret that for the trustees and the hearing officer. We make a recommendation, but nothing more than that, you don't make a decision, their decision is made. The other thing I would say is that personally, I have flooding on my property. Most of the properties in the township have flooding issues. Very flat, low-lying area. With a lot of underlying clay, yeah, and it doesn't drain that. It's an issue that the strategic plan is addressing it now, and there's some way that manage that. But when we interpret the zoning resolution, we don't have the option of looking at septic, it's not part of the zoning resolution. And we don't have the option of looking at flooding, it's not part of the zoning resolution. What we have are requirements and standards in the resolution. So,
And those comments would be appropriate also for a motion is on the table before the motion is acted upon. Any further comments about that? What is your pleasure as a commission at this point? To move the process forward? I simply want to know what action you like to take at this time.
I think especially due to the size of neighboring properties, having this be lower acreage is not out of the ordinary for this area, so. In as much as, I don't have the application number on there.
Application number.
HPZC 2304, meets the Harlem Township zoning resolution. I recommend that we send this to the trustees for approval.
That's a recommendation.
Yes, okay.
All right, there's a motion, now is there a second? Okay. All right, so moved and seconded. Now, there's further discussion. What Tom has indicated, is all certainly very appropriate and accurate with regard to our role. We do not deal specifically with issues with regard to drainage. However, there is an issue with drainage as Tom identified throughout the county, and the county engineer's office, and soil and water conservation do have responsibility. The one thing that is a legal requirement is that there would not, whatever he does with regard to the property, there should be an increase in water that comes from the property toward someone else's property. Hopefully, they will be able to mitigate if there's going to be construction and actually improve the situation. Whether that will happen, that's the engineer's purview and not ours. Our zoning inspector doesn't have responsibility with regard to drainage. So he cannot address that. The only thing that he can do would be refer it back to another agency. Unfortunately, as Tom has indicated, with regard to what's happening within the township, there is some work being done, and I don't know how far along the strategic plan is expressed, but they are looking at trying to create a town and not a county line. for a township-wide issue with regard to drainage during the plan. So that they would address that on a township-wide basis, to try to resolve some of these continuing problems we have with flooding throughout the township. It is a problem in this town. And as we said, almost everywhere. Every time we get a hard rain, you see water standing in the fires. I would again, with regard to that, just reiterate that we will, whatever's decided, we've got a motion on the table for consideration. And whatever is the outcome on that motion, it will go forward to the trustees. Meaning that they will then schedule a hearing. And I would encourage you, who are present, and anyone else who wishes to participate in further discussion, plan to attend the hearing in that listed schedule. That will be scheduled, hopefully, we will get this information, our recommendation before the 21st, no, that's wrong. What's the date? 19th. This one, and then they will set their hearing date, after that.
And they are allowed to consider more general welfare of the township things than we are allowed to.
They can take things in, thank you for pointing that out. They can take the things into consideration that as a zoning commission is not within our code. Such as, overall general welfare of the town.
I can say something.
Just a minute, please, we're in the middle of a motion, so we'll have to wait for the outcome of the motion. Further discussion? And let's call a roll on the motion. If you're in favor of the motion, please signify. Your name is called with aye. Oh, Virginia?
I,
Aye, Virginia. Okay. Tom Lee? Aye. William Manson? Aye. Mike Campbell? Aye. So the motion is carries 4-0, and the motion will be moved forward to the trustees that we are recommending approval of the zoning request. Thank you all for attending. Before I close the hearing, I would say again, the trustees hopefully will set a hearing date. And that hearing date will be a minimum of, will be within 20 days after they receive, they will have to act within 10 days after they receive our recommendation. That's the reason that I think that they will probably schedule the hearing this Wednesday when they receive our recommendation. Now, you have a question.
Yeah, at the risk of sounding sarcastic, am I supposed to get a letter for that, or is there no?
There are no letters that will be sent
How will I
out.
know when that's gonna happen?
There are no letters that are sent by the trustees. Or their.
So my question would be, how would I know when that date has been set?
Yeah,
When I
they-
can attend?
You will know because we're telling you that that hearing will be set, and because these meetings are all public, that will be posted on the website, on the township website. There will be a posting of.
They are getting it before Wednesday. They will be getting it before Wednesday, so they'll be scheduling it on Wednesday.
I anticipate that, but I can't speak to that.
Okay, so the hope is that this Wednesday, the 19th, they will set their hearing time. So if you attend that meeting on the 19th, you will find out a time that the hearing's for, or if you check the website after the 19th, it should be posted there.
They do post their hearing dates on the township website, yes, they do. And it will also be posted in, I think, posted in the Delaware website as well. All right, with that, this hearing on HC 2304 is closed. And we will move forward to the hearing on HPC 2305. The version is here.
Mike,
We're gonna try to go fast, because we know you guys. have meetings.
If it becomes necessary, the jury sheet, I'm sorry to say, but if it becomes necessary, you may have to use that, but we'll try to use people. Like over the HTC 2305. And with that, I'll call the roll. Virginia Lewis.
Here.
Me. Here. Mike Kavler here. Johnny Nancy here. Right, Brittany Hopper is absent for tonight's hearing on APCC 2025. And we go forward with this. Find the public. Announcement that is being done with that.
Can I read it from the website?
Yeah, it's supposed to be the same on the website.
All right. The Harlem Township Zoning Commission is being asked to consider the following: Daniel Hirschfeld, 15675 Montgomery Road, Johnstown, Ohio, 43031, is seeking to rezone 5 acres from the current zoning AR1 agricultural residential to proposed zoning FR1 single family residential. There is no physical address for the property. Parcel ID is 316-140-01-035-000. The hearing on Monday, July 3rd at 8 p.m. was recessed and rescheduled for Monday, July 17th at 6:45 p.m. at the Harlem Township Firehouse, 3883 South State Route 605, Toledo, Ohio. Do I need to read all the Zoom info?
No, just that it was.
It was posted on Zoom, yes.
Okay, thank you. And has the applicant, is the application on the correct form? I believe it is. Has the applicant or agent signed the investment hearing?
Yes.
What is the specific zoning request? Could you read that, Johnny, please?
We don't have current, it's totally 5 acres. Be rezoned from AR1 agricultural residential to proposed, FR1 single family residential, entire plot point of
Thank you. And what is the correct legal description for in text and map and video?
Yes, they do.
So I guess not about the legal back, okay. Never mind.
Never mind. Okay. And have the adjacent adjoining contiguous and across from property owners been notified? And according to the information that I received, yes.
Okay, and I would like to note that, the website, when it says, a name and then there's a little symbol at and another number after it, that means there are, like if it says, somewhere Cody at 4, that means there are 4 owners for that property. They all need to be notified. I gave you some of the additional information, so you do not have it on your form. So I looked that up for you. We gave it to the secretary who sent out those letters.
And that would be for this next, for your hearing that's in the future, not the next. So,
Yeah.
Well,
that's for
for this,
06.
did Mr. Hershey get,
Secretary Medina sent out the letters and included all the text addresses.
They should have, like they gave it to us.
On their sheet?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were on the card.
Oh, she's on, listed as one of the.
As one of the property owners, I got you.
So yes, you can give a 4, that at 4 symbol means.
That's why you're here.
And that's right, and the other 3 owners did receive their letter. Okay.
So they were sent,
Yeah.
and that's what I have is that the letters were sent and no areas were returned.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you.
It's something that's not real clear on the auditor website.
Okay. Let's go forward from this point. with Mr. Hershey. I had it up here, and then I read it all in that.
Do you have regional planning's recommendation for this one?
I have it,
Oh, you.
that's what I just said, I had it, then I missed.
There is another thing I would like to know in the other possible areas, and I just wanna say that, for anybody doing one of these, rezoning applications, for the uses, do not list the numbers that we don't have access to. On this form, it's listed current uses, 511, proposed use 501. Just go ahead and list what those uses are, because we don't need to be trying to figure out what those numbers mean.
I do think we would help ourselves by maybe putting in parentheses, current use, i.e. residential or agricultural, something to indicate what exactly they're looking for there. Again, if we're trying to make this as user-friendly as possible,
This is the first time I've seen this in 17 years.
that may be true, but I remember several people asking, well, what do you mean use? Trying to figure out what we're getting at, because we want to know, is it commercial, is it agricultural, is it? Residential, something.
Okay. Regional plan.
Regional planning recommendation. Staff recommends conditional approval of the rezoning request by Mr. Daniel Hershey from AR1 to FR1. And the condition is the applicant shall ensure that a primary and secondary on-site treatment system can be placed on each site before township zoning approval. Mr. Merrill made a motion to recommend conditional approval rezoning request by Daniel Hershey, staff recommendation. Mr. Eden seconded the motion, the motion passed unanimously. Okay, so it's been recommended for conditional approval. The question is,
We have nothing to do with what they're asking us to do.
I know,
It's like the last one, we're talking about drainage. You can recommend that all day long, we don't do anything with it, so.
so it seems, I don't recall that we've been getting those kind of
No.
applications from, regional planning.
They may have had staff
But they-
increases as well.
Yeah, but it would be conditional on
Yeah,
septic site.
yeah,
That's asking the property owner to go to do that before they have the zoning.
yeah,
And then they,
we can't do that.
excuse me,
Can I ask a question? Could you
Uh,
clarify again exactly what the regional plan is asking for?
they're asking for you to have verification from the health department that you can provide a septic system on the two lots. Okay, but I don't know what the two lots are.
You know, if I'm not building a house.
And what we're saying is that's not something that's in our control anyway, so we don't know why they're recommending it, so I wouldn't sweat it.
Mr. Hershey, it really will have nothing to do with the decision that we make here tonight,
I understand.
nothing.
I can.
Yeah, so relax about that issue. All right,
Since we have more BZA members trickling in and looking confused. My only thing is the survey map and the adjacent property adjacent property owners map, they seem to have different shapes. Is this mislabeled? What is this little long strip here that's not here? That's also his problem.
Yeah, he wants to rezone this.
Got it. So this is just, got it.
he owns 5 acres and he's got a 3-acre lot that's already zoned FR1.
Okay, good.
So that's one problem.
Yep.
But we're not dealing with that other than the fact that because he was.
He had to go one
owned both lots,
further.
he had
Yes,
to go
yep,
beyond
got it.
that. That's exactly what it is. All right. Okay. Let me get back now, we've got the recommendation, talk about that. Are there any, Are there any property owners who weren't notified present? Seeing none, all right, there were no notarized statements provided, other possible errors, we've addressed that. We've addressed the recommendation from the regional plan. Now open to the commission for you to ask any other questions that you may have on the applicant. You've already asked a question and we responded to that.
Net acres, is that listed on here?
He did not list the net acreage on the application. Once the recommendation is heard.
Well, if we're following the protocol that we've been following, then. Second. If we're following the protocol that we've been following, then. I mean, I have to make a motion that we've rejected, basically, sorry. Lack of net acreage.
You're making a motion, is there a second?
Could you face this way so I can hear what you saying?
Yes, there is no calculation of net acreage as far as I can see.
Calculation of net acreage.
Yes, so including all of your right of ways, excluding all of your right of ways and easements, so power lines, gas lines, anything like that that may be going through your property. We need a calculation of that to determine whether or not it is an appropriate size to be rezoned.
I would say that in this case.
It will make it.
It's only 5 acres without any activity on it, it should be.
It's 5 acres net, and I believe that, if you look at the, GIS Delaware County, data, it says that there's, a 0.2 acres for easement. So the total property is actually less than 5 acres.
And then,
It's my understanding that that would all make the land, FR1, I don't know, but. So what do we need to do here?
It doesn't automatically make it FR1, but like,
No.
rezoning it, we will make it.
Conforming to non.
One.
Well,
we had a motion suggested, I'm asking if
It
there is a
did
second.
not get a second.
It did not get a second.
and that's
So
fine,
the
that's
motion dies for lack of a second. All right, now coming back, let's see, you still got a point in, I'll open it for public comment. Sorry, yeah, we're running a little long, we finished, please. All right,
Any public comment?
any further? In it? You want to make a motion to reject it, so have to go back and pick up again and you messed up. At this point, is there any public comment? That's what we discussed. Seeing none, close the public comment portion. Moving forward, what does the commission, wish to do at this point? Any further discussion? Or if there is no further discussion, what's the commission's pleasure regarding application HTC C-2305?
as much as application of HB 2305 conforms to the intent of the Harlem Township Comprehensive Plan, meets the requirements of the Harlem Township zoning resolution that we recommend rezoning of the Harlem Township Board of Trustees.
All right, Tom is approved. Is there a second?
Second.
Now we have a motion to approve, application HTC 2305, and recommend it to, the township trustees for approval. Please, indicate aye or nay when I call your name. Oh, sorry, there's further discussion. Hearing none. When I call your name, Please vote with an aye in favor or a nay. All those in favor of the motion to recommend approval for application H2305 is, respond with aye in favor. Opposed? Nay? I'm sorry, I should check that, if you do that, we'll be fine with that. Tom Mead? Aye. Michael Capello, aye. Jim?
Aye.
And motion carried, 3 ayes, 1 nay. And I've got the forms here for everyone to sign. That is the Hershey. And this is, yeah, we can go outside. Let me close this hearing and bring the regular meeting out of recess. All right, we're back in a regular meeting. And with that, Mr. Hershey, you need to know that this will go forward to the trustees. Hopefully Wednesday, they'll set the hearing date for them. So you will need to participate in that hearing when that occurs. So you need to follow what happens at the trustee meeting on Wednesday of this week. Very good. Thank you. All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn our
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
and a second.
Second.
Okay. I have a motion to adjourn the regular meeting. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. All right, we'll adjourn. Thank you, guys. We'll go out there in the hall. We can finish signing these forms. Thank you, guys, for the lead of the BCA. I'm sorry that we ran long.
Well, they're running their own party out there, so. Sound like second official meeting. I'm like there, I've been playing for the last 20 years. That's right. You know, you're probably doing something. Yeah, this is my. Will you get your office? Will you get your office? Yeah.